Hello, all my friends in the Dinks world. Even Hurricane Idalia could not keep us from coming to you tonight. Well, it's Tropical Storm Idalia here now, and it ain't nothing. I hope all my friends, all of our friends in Florida are safe. Hope everyone fared well. But this thing is kind of fizzling out. And so here we are. Welcome to Dentists in the Know. We're your backstage pass for current trends, politics, and education in the dental world. It is live, and it is over a delicious glass of Blade and Bow. And I don't know if you can see this glass really well. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's a little fogged. Let me try doing that. I don't know if you could see that it says Dentists in the Know. We have our own glasses. And you know what else we have? We have our own rocks. This morning I was washing my rocks and I thought, you know what? I'm going to get these clean and I'm going to enjoy a beautiful glass of bourbon with all of my friends in the Dinks world. So you know the routine. I am with my besties in the world. I'm with Dr. Chad Duplantis and Dr. Jennifer Bell. Tonight we have an incredible guest, a great friend of the Dinks, Dr. Laura Brenner Studholme, excuse me. And what a great person. It's going to be a really interesting show because she's going to talk about burnout and side gigs and all kinds of cool stuff. But you know the three of us very well. We are all dentists. We are all educators. We are all business owners. And our job is to bring all of you in the know. JB, give us the news so we can get to Dr. Laura.
Let's do it, guys.
Give us the news. Right. We out.
So first off, I just want to say in tonight's news, I am not picking on California, but it does seem like a disproportionate number of the news articles comes from that state. And also, unfortunately, not the most flattering news. So let's get to it. Tonight feels a bit like a TMZ episode. There will be just a little bit of meat amongst this crazy, ridiculous sandwich of dumb decisions and poor life choices. So we're going to just sort of give it to you real, like we always do every week. First off, a California dentist has been arrested for having a hidden camera in his bathroom. Guys, if you could just not put the cameras in your bathroom. And I think originally when the story came out, there was some suspicion that he had put it out there, you know, to maybe catch an employee or do not put it in the bathroom. Whatever you may think is a good idea, don't. And also actually be very mindful, this is a PSA, of where you post your cameras in the office. If you catch any weird content, definitely don't take it home and put it on your computer in your house. These are the things that are going to help you carry on into that next generation of practicing dentistry. Another unfortunate incident that came out of California this week. There was a female dental assistant who went to a McDonald's, caught a bit of a ruckus, yelling a bit at the employees who are working there because of a fouled up drive-through order. Maybe a few racial slurs came out. It went viral. She subsequently lost her job. I don't know how many dental assistants watch our program, but perhaps we just take this little bit of acknowledgement that what we do in public almost always gets recorded now. And in this particular case, it did cost this young woman's job. So just be mindful of how we behave in front of others. Okay, now we're more on to the fun part of this very odd TMZ sandwich for the night. Dougie Fresh, a world-renowned rapper, which many of you may know, has collaborated with Colgate to come up with a very fun, I watched it before we came on tonight, a very fun brushing video to encourage kids in good oral hygiene. It's a part of the Hip Hop Public Health Collaborative, a program, a nonprofit program that is dedicated to reaching kids and providing them information, motivation, access to care, etc., in the public health sector. I'm going to post this video online. I think you should use it in your own social media. I think it should go viral. It's actually super catchy, and I have already found myself like kind of humming the tune a little bit. So we'll post that link. You can give it to your own patients and maybe encourage them to use it. I think kids will really resonate, and I really appreciate his commitment to public health. I think that's very cool. Another interesting piece of information, and if I can just be totally honest with you guys right now, I'm a little surprised that this made Jada and the ADA news, because to me, it just seems like common sense, but we're going to go ahead and talk about it anyway. So there was a grant, research was conducted, et cetera, by several groups looking at pain management for children for dental related conditions. And ultimately, at the end of the research, they determined that acetaminophen, NSAIDs like ibuprofen or Advil, and or in combination with each other would provide the best pain relief for pediatric patients. So just file that away. Maybe just use it. And the one thing I would say too about that is that maybe you could consider dosages that are more in line with how you talk to your adult patients, and you may go slightly higher than what the over-the-counter recommendations might be in order to manage those acute pain situations. But I think the ultimate value of the study was to start to push away any use of opioid management with pediatric patients, which certainly has value in our profession. The last thing I wanted to follow up on was a story that we talked about actually a few weeks ago about a bone grafting material that had been out on the market that had been recalled because of TB infection. The second patient has actually passed away from that particular infection, which is super unfortunate in this kind of ongoing saga. It looks like 36 total patients had been exposed to the bone that had been infected with the tuberculosis bacterium, and we now have our confirmed second death from that. They have pulled that product from the market. They have pulled any unused sample, any unused vials from those offices. It was being used both in a hospital and dental setting, so this isn't just unique to dentistry, but they've pulled those particular vials and are sort of tracking those 36 patients, which they know it was used on. But unfortunately, we have had some adverse outcomes that came from that. And I really need, can we talk about Dougie Fresh one more time? Because I feel like I need to close on a happy story. They always yell at me because I close on a crappy, terrible story. And in fact, that's exactly what I did tonight. So with that, that's the crappy news.
Like, I thought you were going to say something else about Dougie Fresh. Let us know a little bit more about Dougie Fresh.
But that's it. He wrote the wrapping video for brushing your teeth. I'm going to post a link. It's awesome. It's super catchy. So
send me the link and we'll play it at the end of the show as we close.
Done and done.
Yeah.
You got it. Good job, JB.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good job.
I'm really
JB.
sorry I ended on a sad note.
Well, you know why I'm excited tonight, you guys?
Why?
I'm excited because I freaking love our guest. I met Dr. Laura Brenner Studham at a nachos event. It was the first time I met her in person. And man, it was just such a blast. I love talking with her, but I absolutely love her attitude, her perspective, and she can hang too. I think she has some tequila in her hand, right, Dr. Laura?
It's right
what
here.
You got there?
A giant glass. This is Cava de Oro Blanco.
That's easy for you to say.
It is.
Welcome. Cheers to you, Laura. Welcome to the show.
Cheers. Thanks for having me.
For those of you, absolutely. For those of you who don't know Dr. Laura Brenner Studham, she actually graduated from dental school, practiced for about 10 years, and had an epiphany at some point, which she'll tell us about, that maybe she wasn't getting the most fulfillment out of the career that she had chosen. And I know some of you and all of us have felt that way at times. But she actually started blogging. She wrote a blog called 10 Reasons Why Your Dentist Probably Hates You Too. And that really took off. She developed a consulting group. She became a certified coach, and she actually left the field of clinical dentistry. And so I've really just, I've admired watching her because a lot of people meet that issue and don't ever do anything about it. She has a group called Dentist Side Gigs for people who are maybe just wanting to test the waters. But she's just doing so much for dentists to try to get more out of their careers. And I just had a blast talking with her. So everyone out there, welcome Dr. Laura Brenner. It's so good to have you, and welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. And by the way, I think we must have talked that night for like 4 hours. We were at the graffiti bar. I have never laughed so hard in my life.
This fact checks.
Yeah.
There's a few details you're probably leaving out because
Yeah.
that would also fact check.
Okay, okay. Easy on the Jeff.
It's not against you at all.
Yeah.
Easy on the Jeff.
It's not. It's like it always seems that when we're all hanging out, and Laura probably can also agree, like weird things happen or funny stories occur.
Wait, not
peripherally.
weird. Now you've just put me in a whole other category of the guy with the camera.
Unrelated to you, but somehow peripherally or also simultaneously going. Maybe when Jeff and I are together, we're just too much of people observers and are watching weird stuff go down. But when you're in a conversation with Jeff for 4 hours, I find it hard to believe that nothing weird happened peripherally where you were sitting. I find it difficult.
Fair. I'll give you a fair on that.
It's not you. It's the environment.
So I have a 2-part question, but I'm going to release it one part at a time. And so I'm asking for amnesty on the second half so that nobody else jumps in. But the first part is, Laura, is that you are you got a certification to be a professional coach, correct?
Correct.
How and when did you decide to do that?
So let me give you a little backstory. I became very unhappy in my 3rd year of practice, and I just kept going because that's what we do as dentists, right? We just plug along and we keep going. And then in probably about year 7 again, it got really bad. And at the time I worked with a career coach because I just felt so lost and I felt like I needed to find answers. And that experience was pretty eye-opening for me, and it was very helpful. And so I think this is why a lot of people decide to become coaches, because they've worked with one and they're floored by the experience and they want to do that for other people. So let's see, that was 2007. I ended up leaving dentistry in 2011, and I did not allow myself to go back and get my coaching certification for 6 more years because I always knew that I wanted to help other dentists, work through the same challenges that I was always working on, but I never felt like I could because I just felt like a quitter. So it took me 6 years to really process being able to come back and say, okay, I'm qualified. I can help other people now.
So, okay, now that's a 3-part question because you just opened up a whole other can of worms. What did you do in those 6 years?
Side gigs, baby. I was just trying whatever I could. So, I left dentistry to be a weight loss coach. I did weight loss coaching. And my husband is a chiropractor. I was able to open up. It kind of worked out beautifully. I found out about the opportunity through him. And so I was able to just open up this business under his umbrella. So I didn't have to deal with a lot of the stuff that would stop us in our tracks if we're trying to start a new business. We had a front office person. We had an extra room. I mean, it was just so beautiful. So I did that for the majority of the time, but along the way, I was just dabbling in different things. I made dried spice blends that I sold to someone who was going to sell them online. And that was an interesting experience because I had to go work in a commercial kitchen and just mix all these spices together. And I actually hated it. So then I learned how to like contract with a company. You know, I learned all these skills by doing these random things. I sold skincare products. I just did all these different things until finally I was like, all right, it's time to go back. But the whole time I was doing the weight loss coaching.
But you were happier than you were in dentistry.
I was a lot happier. However, life wasn't perfect. I still had to go through that grieving process of letting this go, because this is like a marriage, right? We all invest so much into this. And no matter how the marriage is, when you get a divorce, there is that breakup, there is that grieving process. So I had to work through a lot of those things, like redefining what success meant for me and how can I find value in myself if I'm not finding it through, you know, making lots of money helping patients as a dentist.
You know, there's so many people that are in the same boat that you were in, and they're afraid to admit it, or they're really struggling with it. So kudos to you for making that leap. But okay, this is I'll ask more questions later. I'm going to turn it over after this one. But one of the things that's been so impressive to me
Welcome
is
to the Chad DePlana show, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, there's weeks that I don't talk a lot. Okay. So
Really?
You know what? I would show you all your IQ right now, but just let me have my floor. Okay.
Now here's Chad.
Yeah. So I've watched you grow so much over the past few years that I've known you, because we started out in that, there was this thing for a while called Clubhouse, I guess. And that's where I first met you. And I was so impressed. But my question is, and maybe it's an assumption on my behalf, but has your journey in coaching, I'd say that what I've seen, you're still working with a lot of dentites, but it seems as almost if you're branching out and doing other things too that aren't necessarily dentistry related. Is that correct?
Oh, well, so, you know, people are always like, you should help other professionals. And I was just having this conversation the other day. The truth is, I love helping dentists. And so I don't have any desire to branch out and work with physicians or anyone else like that. So from that standpoint, but part of what I do is all about creating this life that we want. So what you might be referring to is the travel stuff, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was referring to. I just was like, okay, you're doing a little bit outside of dentistry, but that's awesome.
Yeah, because it's all about like, how can we design the lives that we're like, let's just have more fun. This is why I love hanging out with you guys, because you always make me laugh the whole time. It's so much fun. And like, why can't we do more? So I'm working with a friend of mine who is like the points guy, but he's called the Miles Mentor. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm sharing what he does with the dental community, because as dentists, we have the ability to accumulate a massive amount of points and then learn how to use them. And that really fits into what I'm helping people do, because, you know, if you want to work less in dentistry, but you love traveling and you still want to travel, you can still travel business class by using these systems, and you don't have to work as much. You still get to live, let's call it like the first class life. You still get to live that without being so dependent on your income, if that's something you want to do. So it's all really fits into this idea of lifestyle, and how can we do more of what we want and find ways to do it, and just go for it. Like, stop waiting, just do it. Right.
And
I love it. I love it. And I'm going to shut up now.
Dentists are notoriously cheap.
I think Paul calls it a special.
I think I'm behind here.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does Paul call it? He calls
special kind of cheap, right? Dentists are a special kind of cheap. So that's valuable information. Yeah,
it's great. And it really, like, this is all
Laura,
about
how did you
freedom.
Yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Sorry.
Yeah.
I mean,
so my
sorry he cut you off, Laura.
No, I'm a little bit behind. Yeah, sorry, Laura.
He's in a hurricane.
Bit behind here because we actually are in the middle of, and we are in a hard downpour now, and it's my internet has gone in and out a couple of times here, so forgive me. I guess my question is one, when did you finally say it's okay? I know you said it took you a long time to figure out that it was okay to say, I'm not going to be a clinical dentist anymore. And then when did you realize that this was something that you needed to pass the message on to other dentists to say, listen, if you're not getting all the fulfillment that you need out of dentistry, you know, here are some possible other ways to do that. So, you know, how did dentist side gigs start, and when did you feel comfortable passing that message on?
So it started with an ultimatum by my husband. One day after coming home crying, after many days of coming home that way, he said to me, sort it out. We can't do this anymore. I had no idea how I was affecting him. I had no idea how my bad moods and my depression and my, you know, grouchiness and complaining, like incessant complaining. I had no idea. And he's like, our marriage isn't going to last if you don't sort this out. So, you know, he said, we can do whatever we need to do. If we need to sell our house and move, fine, but figure it out. And so, you know, I do joke that it was an ultimatum, but it really was permission. And that started it. And from there, it was a really, really long journey, because you do have to go through that whole breakup of figuring out, you know, what are you going to do instead? And then I actually started blogging, and that was sort of what allowed me to change. You know, I think so many of us are looking for the wrong we're looking at the wrong strategy to change careers or to leave clinical. We're always looking from the outside in. We're looking at like, well, what are other people doing? And the truth is, unless you fix what's going on within you, like no other idea of typical jobs that dentists do ever sounds good. You'd be like, oh, that's too hard. Oh, that's too many hours. Oh, that's still with people. So, you know, I had to go through that process of changing myself and really seeing that dentistry is hard. Most people can't do what we can do. And if I can do this, then I can do anything. And from there, then I could give myself permission to really explore. So it was a really long process, a lot of therapy, a lot of coaching, a lot of reading books and personal development. And then that was what led me to this blog, which then changed me. I started seeing the world differently because I had to always write, and I was learning so much from what I was writing. Then I started the weight loss coaching business, and then I quit dentistry, and I wrote 10 reasons your dentist probably hates you too. And it was like an explosion. It literally went viral that night that I posted it. And I started hearing from people from all over the world. I mean, people in Egypt were like, oh yeah, we get the same things too, except for instead of telling us that they helped us buy our car, they say that they helped us buy our shirt. You know, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're all the same all over the world. And suddenly I realized, I thought this whole time, what's wrong with me? I'm the only one. So that was actually really therapeutic to see that, whoa, there's not something wrong with me. There are a lot of people who feel this way. So I started blogging about my journey into and out of dentistry. And that's where I really started sharing it. And, you know, people are always like, hey, your blog has helped me so much. But what they don't realize is how much them cheering me on helped me through that time. Like I needed that. I needed this built-in cheering squad. And it wasn't huge. It was just a couple hundred people, but, you know, they were commenting and sending me emails. And that was when I really started to share it. And then eventually got the courage to decide to just jump in and share this. No matter what no matter what success I had throughout my life, I was like, I'm going to help people do this. And that was what I was meant to be doing, because it grew very organically. And then when COVID happened, I decided to start a Facebook group. And actually I went and I copied another Facebook group, which was called Physician Side Gigs. That was how I picked the name. Like, this stuff isn't complicated. We overcomplicate it. I went and looked, okay, because I knew, you know, physicians have been dealing with this for much longer than we have. I have a friend who's a coach for doctors, and she always says that we're 10 years behind them in dentistry and trying to find non-clinical and alternative careers.
We're 10 years behind everybody. I'll just throw that right out there.
Which is good and bad, right? Like it gives us more opportunities, and yet we also have to be pioneers. So I just went and I found this group that she had 80,000 members. And I was like, all right, hey, it must be a good name if she has that many members. So I'm going to just copy it. And that's how I came up with Dentist Side Gigs.
I love it. So I want to ask, what would you tell? I know there's people out there that are like, I hate dentistry. I can't stand it. I've got to do something else. Yet I just spent all this money on an education.
So
and equipment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, let's say you're an associate, but you got a 400, 500, nowadays $700,000, $800,000 education. And you're like, what the hell? I mean, I'm stuck because I paid this much for an education.
Well, and all of us, we came out of school at a time when our education costs were so manageable. I paid my
at
loans
the time.
After 10 years. And then when I did that, I was like, okay, I can leave, which I now realize you don't have to wait until that happens to change. It saddens me that people are having to come out with those loans that are keeping them so trapped. But this is why I love the side gig, because it takes the pressure off of having to find that perfect plan B career change. Because when you're searching for that perfect plan B, it doesn't exist and you're just going to stay stuck. So, I mean, Paul's on here, like Paul is the perfect, he's got so many side gigs, right? And he's still able to do dentistry and cut it down, but he could balance all of that however he wants. But when you have a side gig, it becomes that safety net where it allows you to make extra income while you're still relying on your dentistry income, but you're at least throughout the years starting to plan so that 10 years from now, maybe you're a little more set up than if you just started looking for a whole new career in 10 years. It's like just, okay, we're talking about this marriage thing. Date your career, have fun with it and like no strings attached. And that's what allows people to begin to, like you guys started Dinks. I mean, think about how you started that. You started that just
same time.
I don't know how much of a whim it was, but to me, when I hear your story, that's kind of what I thought. It was like, hey, let's do this cool thing. And you just built it, But if you were like, oh, it's going to have to bring in this much money and that, and you'd probably talk yourselves out of it before you even start.
Oh, we would have definitely talked ourselves out of it.
We'd be freaking broke. But here's the deal, Laura. The thing that I gather from this is, like, I ask you what you say to somebody who did this, spent all this money on education. I think that we use what we're given and even what we pay for to the best of our abilities. And I think without your dental education, you wouldn't be where you are right now. You use your dental education to help those figure out how to use or not use their dental education. So kudos to you. I mean, I think your education was invaluable, and I think what you're doing is invaluable to the profession. And I love how you're working mainly with dentists. I think it's great. So
can I come on the program or
no? Oh, you're there. Sorry, JB. Yeah. That pink kind of
the LB and JB show. So,
ladies and gentlemen, she's a friend of the program. Let's please welcome Jennifer.
And let's quickly forget that she already had 15 minutes of news you can use. Yeah.
Is it getting awkward, Laura? Okay.
No, I just love that you guys are calling me LB because there's all my friends always calling me LB, and the only one in dentistry who does that is Paul Goodman, and I love being called LB. So it's like LB and JB. I love it.
So my question to you, because I think you brought up something really valid as you've kind of gone through this life coaching journey also, and kids in high school, going through college, where's that magic sweet spot for career coaching so that they can really start to hone in maybe on the thing that will actually bring them fulfillment as a profession. I mean, I'm right there with you. I think if I had really appreciated in my youth, we'll say, college or whatever, how difficult it would be to manage complaints and people and staff. And that really doesn't jive as well with my own personality. Would I be a dentist or not? I don't know. But I think, but I didn't have any guidance on that. It was like, well, you're good at science and you kind of move through this path, and you go to your counselor or whatever academic advisor at the time and say, I want to get me to that end goal, instead of what should you be? And then let's get you to that end goal. So are you seeing, number one, what would be that sweet spot? And two, are you seeing an uptick maybe in folks investing in that particular type of coaching, especially given the cost of the investment and all the educational avenues, whether it be dentistry or honestly anything at this point?
Yeah. So, what does always make me laugh is we are willing to invest so much money in our education, in more CE, in this and that, but we're not willing to invest in ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so the people who are investing in themselves and working with a coach, whether it's, the kind of coaching I do or helping find more happiness in dentistry, it really is about, like I said earlier, starting from the inside out and working on your belief systems and how you see the world. Because like you're saying, we don't get taught this anywhere, right? And so one of the thoughts I have is, how can we change the way we look at our careers? Like we look at, I imagine, did you guys ever go on get a Eurail pass?
Yes.
Before, after college? Remember how you'd get on this train and you would just go from train station to train station, right? And I always picture that dentistry is the last train station on that Eurail pass that you hit, right? And I think, why can't dentistry just be another stop along the way for some people? Like, we view it as the final destination. And so once we get there, it's like, where else do we go? I think about getting out of a train station. I think it was in Austria, and it was so freezing that it was like, it felt so hellish. It was so uncomfortable, And it's like, this is what we're willing to do, is just stay in this train station. Well, why not see that as one of the stops along the way? Because how do we ever know until we experience something? None of us ever know what dentistry is like until we experience it. And so if we can reframe that for ourselves in life, then maybe we can give ourselves a little more grace and freedom to be able to explore without having to have all of the right answers. It's like, if you want to start something now that's new and you think you want to have it all planned out so that it's perfectly mapped out to a T, it's not going to work. You're going to stay stuck because that you didn't know what you thought about dentistry until you actually sat in that chair and did it. So I would say now it's about, like, how can you really break it down into easier ways so that it's not going to cost you a lot of time, not going to cost you a lot of money, or so much effort that you can't fit it into your busy schedule.
So let's throw this scenario out there. Talked about student loans. You just brought up a really valid point. I'm just going to throw this out there. I've been practicing dentistry for 5 or 6 years. I come seeking you because I'm looking for a change, yet I've got a family, I've got payments, I've got this income, and I'm asking you, what are my options to replace this income? And, where do you guide someone like that? Because I know I've seen some of the comments in your group. I follow it, I watch, and I feel so sorry for people. So where do you even start? I mean, I know I'm not going to put you on the spot and say, what do you tell that person? But where do you even start? What's the first step?
And that's so hard. But like, I think the first thing that comes to mind of that is this image that I used to tell myself that I used to sort of imagine. I used to imagine myself sitting on the edge of the bed at 60 years old, trying to stand up in the morning and get ready to go to work, and like just hanging my head low and thinking, how am I here? How have I let my whole life pass me by? And I'm waking up yet another day feeling this way about going into this thing that was supposed to be my life. So I do think sometimes you have to be in enough pain that it's going to push you to take action. But the process really is, it starts with working through those beliefs. Like we all grow up with sets of rules that dictate our lives, that we learn from society and our parents and culture. And we have to rewrite those rules. And that's part of getting through. That's the first step, is we have to rewrite the rules and write new rules that we want, that we can believe, that we really want to live by, so that we can give ourselves permission. And then the other thing I help people do is really explore who they are. Because we get into dentistry and we just become these like really obedient little boys and girls. And we stop listening to ourselves and we stop paying attention to what's important to us and what we like. So we need to reconnect with ourselves again and reconnect with our creativity. And I don't mean just painting or playing guitar. I mean creative thinking and starting practicing seeing opportunities. I mean, all this is up here, right? But really figuring that out. And then I do a brainstorm with people where we come up with a bunch of different options. And then it's like, pick one, just pick one. And let's make it, like I said earlier, not going to cost you a lot of money, not going to cost you a lot of time. But in that process, that's part of how you're going to get to know yourself and what you want. I wish I had a list that I could give people and say, this is going to make you exactly this much money, just like you make in dentistry. And you'll be able to do it from home and you'll be able to work only 3 days a week. Just, it just doesn't exist. If it did, more people would be doing it by now, right? So that's really the process. It all starts in here and in here. And then from there, it's breaking down your ideas into small, doable steps, so that, like, otherwise it's too, how do you eat the elephant, right? It's just way too daunting.
Well, Laura, I've got a question. So if you, and obviously I don't want you to give away names or any details, what are some of the endpoints that you have gotten to with some of your clients? What are some of the side gigs that you have allowed some of your clients to explore? And I'm not saying that to tell anyone this is what you need to do. I'm saying it just as a way to maybe open people's minds and just start that creative process of saying, you know what, here's what I'm passionate about, or here's a path I think I could go down. What are some of the roads some of your clients have gone down?
All right. So, I'm going to tell you the zaniest things, right?
I
we're hoping.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll start with, there's always like the standard things. Like one of my clients, she started out doing 1 day a week consulting for an insurance company, and then was offered a director position and has this kick-ass, 5 full-time job that makes her great dentist income. This is possible, right? And this is sort of the standard. I have a client right now. I'm super excited about this. And I told him, I'm like, I can't wait to brag about you. And we're going to do it right now. He is going to sell. He is in the process of selling his practice, and he is going to start a psilocybin coaching and facilitation business. So he's going to do, if people don't know what that is, medicinal mushroom coaching.
Yeah.
And what I love about that is it's so fringe. It's so anti-dentistry, isn't it? Like, it's just so unique. But he's really passionate about the spiritual teaching side of it. And he's going to incorporate that in. So weird, right? But so great. And then, my client who I'll share her name, Jenna, right now, because what we've done with her is followed the same process I just outlined for you. We worked on her mindset. We then helped her be able to admit to herself, and you've got to do some dreaming in this process as well. And some of it is we won't admit these things to ourselves. she finally admitted that she wanted to do art. She loved art. But she was taught growing up that you can't make money doing art. So I said to her, well, someone makes money doing art, right? Like, let's look at all the ways people are making money doing art. And we brought up the idea of these painting and sipping stores where you go and drink wine and paint. And she thought that, yeah, you know, I'd like to do that. That'd be interesting. So what we did, she's working 4 days a week in dentistry. She doesn't have time. Every week we sent her off with a task. 1 week it's researching it, what's involved in that business, so that you can decide if it's a green light or a red light. The next week it was a green light. Okay, great. You don't want to start that business and like rent a space and go all in if you don't know if you even like it. How can we set up a workshop, right, that you could do with your friends just to see what it's like? So each week it was one step. It was like going to the local pubs. She lives in the UK, going to local pubs and seeing if they'll let her host it there. Great. Still green light. Okay, now text 10 of your friends. I mean, we're literally breaking it down into the smallest steps that you would think you wouldn't need that kind of guidance on. But when you're doing this, you do. Ultimately, we have helped her. She has evolved this into team building workshops for dental offices where they do painting and sipping. And she's giving continuing education credits for teaching communication and perfectionism. She's been interviewed in a couple of magazines in the UK. She's now having people reach out to her and ask her to host. And like her book is just getting more and more scheduled. She's dropped down to 3 days a week in practice. And, you know, she's at a place where as she gets full, she'll make dentist income. But you have to be willing to sacrifice, right? Mm-hmm. Because
it's a leap of faith. It really is a leap of faith. But I believe when you follow your passion, that no matter what, if you're passionate enough about it, you will figure out a way to eventually make it lucrative.
I really wanted to go to Colorado and open a shop called Puff and Paint. And I literally tried to buy the website and trademark it, and it's already gone. And so I was really pissed off. But how badass would that have been? I would not have practiced dentistry a day in my life. I could just be puffing and painting, baby.
Hey, you come into the right place.
That's right.
Right.
We've seen Chad after one bourbon.
Yeah, actually one White Claw.
Imagine that.
One White Claw. Not even a bourbon.
Well, if you want to partner on that, I'm sure I could find a painter to, you know, you can do the puffing.
Yeah,
you could do the painting.
I'm. It's still a possibility. We may go with edibles, and we may go to Etch and Eat, and we'll do it with Etch a Sketches. I don't give a shit, but we're in. I mean, I'm good. We can do it.
Maybe your side gig is just coming up with names for dumb businesses. But I
Puff and Paint is not a dumb name.
But I think you would buy it. I'm
painting with a twist. I mean,
Etch and Eat, like you had me right there with the Etch and Sketch.
Laura, I think this is your new subcontractor here. When people come up with the ideas, then you send it to Chad for the dumb name.
Yeah. Perfect. Great.
Seriously, I totally have something in my
That's
eye.
a great side gig.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This is just such a breath of fresh air. Screw all of y'all.
Yeah.
Wait, do we want to share the yearbook picture?
Yeah, go ahead. Let's do it. Do you
Baylor? Is this a Baylor picture?
Yeah. And while you guys were talking, I was looking to see if there were any candids of Chad, but I couldn't find any. We were at Baylor together in 2000. I was in my third year, and Chad was doing an AEGD. Let's see if I can pull this up.
Oh, I see him from here. I can pick him out from afar.
Look at that sexy, skinny guy right there. Look at that. Yeah.
Can you see it? You can see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, look at that.
Such a baby.
Guy.
Such a baby.
Yearbook?
Yeah, we had a yearbook. It was pretty fun.
We never had a yearbook.
Did you guys have
yearbook?
dental Olympics? We had dental Olympics.
We did have dental Olympics, which was really fun with the 3 dental schools in Texas. Now there's 4. Do you think El Paso plays a part in this?
Oh, I didn't know they had a dental school.
Yeah, there's a dental school in El Paso now, all digital, actually no analog impression taking.
Wow.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is actually stupid, and I will refrain from saying anything more than that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand analog, you cannot do digital. You should not be allowed to do digital unless you I'm not saying that the world should stay analog. I'm saying that you better understand analog before you ever touch digital.
I think we just poked the bear.
Wow.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
Poke the bear right there in the belly. Yeah.
All right.
That's a nerve.
Guys, we're at 9:27. We only have a few minutes left. Anyone have any last minute questions for Laura?
I of course I have something, it's not a question, but I want to tell Laura that I read a great story today that I think could serve as an example to all of us. So has anybody, I'm a huge college football fan first off, but has anybody followed Deion Sanders' journey to the University of Colorado? Okay. Deion Sanders had a wonderful journey at Jackson State. And he took this school that was nothing basically to an amazing level. And now he is the head coach of Colorado. He got in there. He hates the word culture. But if you read through it, he hated the culture of Colorado. So what did he do? He basically made everybody on the team leave. And he's totally revamped every way that they do everything at that school, and he's starting the season this weekend against the second place team in the United States, TCU, with 53 new players on the roster. So he has basically taken just all these scraps from everybody else. He's got transfers, he's got JUCO, he's got new recruits, and he's starting from scratch because he wanted to change the way that they were doing things. So the story is still unwritten, but I would tell you that I have a feeling that it's going to be a really cool story. We don't know where it's going to head, but he didn't like the way it was being done. So he's taking everything and starting from scratch. And maybe that's what sometimes that we all need to do, whether it's with a new career or just revamping what's going on in our practices. So watch the University of Colorado this season. I think it's going to be exciting nonetheless over the next, it's not going to be a 1-season turnaround, but maybe a few years. But it's basically somebody taking something that he didn't like and changing it to something that he could stand behind and believe in. So maybe we all need to take a lesson out of the page of Deion Sanders' book. So keep an eye on it.
I think that was actually oddly an excellent point from you. So I'm just going to go ahead and process that. But as you were saying it, I thought of something slightly more intelligent to say. So, Laura, you may have seen today on our Facebook group that
this is why I freaking love you, JB. I'm just saying.
The feeling is mutual, and this week in particular,
the feeling is mutual.
Oh, Adamo will be on it just a minute. It'll be fine.
All right, welcome to our newest host, Adamo Notre Antonio.
Anyway, what I was going to say was, Chad, I think you bring up an excellent point. We've talked a lot about the loathing of the career of dentistry or wanting to exit it and find opportunities outside. But you also bring up a really interesting point with the Deion Sanders. Reinventing what your vision is for dentistry is equally as important. I saw Laura shake her head like maybe being a dentist is okay and maybe you can be successful at that, but you can't work within the hours confine or you haven't prioritized yourself, which I think is something that she's really verbalized very clearly tonight, is that, a look in first to say what's important, what do you value, what do you want to get out of this life? And maybe dentistry can fit into that piece and you can find that journey within it. Maybe it doesn't, but it's that introspection, which I think even Dion had, saying, okay, I'm looking at this and this does not fit my journey. So we're going to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, pretty much is what he did.
Yeah. I thank you. I think that was a compliment.
That was. So I'm going to close
Veiled,
this out.
but it was there. Yeah.
I'm going to close this out and say, Laura, first, thank you for making people, not just dentists, but making people feel like it's okay to say, I'm just not that happy where I am right now. That I think that is probably the most important point of tonight is allowing people to say, I think I could be getting more out of what I'm doing right now. So thank you for allowing people to do that. Thank you for offering a platform. Please let everybody know where they can get in touch with you if they happen to feel that way. I'm going to turn it over to you to do that, and then we'll close. And I will say, everyone, thank you for watching. Please listen to our podcast. Catch us on YouTube. It's just growing and growing, and we thank all of you for it. And we thank guests like Dr. Laura Brenner Studholm for helping build platforms like this, and for her own platform that truly helps dentists. So Laura, tell everyone where they can get in touch with you, and then we'll close out.
Can I sneak in 2 things?
You can sneak in everything. I just gave you the plug away.
Okay. So here's what I'm going to sneak in.
Handoff.
You know, like to JB's point is I'm not here to get everybody to quit dentistry. I'm here to get you to do what you want. Mm-hmm. There is no one size fits all way to do dentistry. I have a friend who only does whitening and Invisalign out of a spa. She literally rents a room in a spa. So it could be anything. So, you know, it's all about doing what you want. And then I want to thank you guys for having me, because I always love being with you. And I do hope I get to see you in person sometime soon. And so now I'll share on Facebook. My group is called Dentist Side Gigs. My website is lolabeescareercoaching.com, or you can just Google 10 reasons your dentist hates you too, and it'll bring me up. And on Instagram, it's Dr. Lolabees. So Dr. Lolabees. And, you know, reach out anytime. I'm here just to share the other side of the story, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I love it. And I'm going to share something really cheesy, and you all can laugh at me all you want later, but this is whether the rest of your life is in dentistry or the rest of your life is somewhere else. Just remember, this is a quote from a Natasha Bedingfield song, and it says, "Today is where your book begins. The rest is still unwritten." And to me, that's one of the best quotes ever, because we have the option to choose our destiny, and maybe you need somebody like Laura to help you find it. So best of luck to everybody, and thank you for being here.
Have a good night, everyone.
Have a great night.
And that wraps up another podcast for Dentists in the Know. On behalf of Dr. Jennifer Bell, Dr. Chad Duplantis, and myself, remember that we've got a great profession, so let's make it a great day, Dinks.